Have you ever felt that shift? One day he's texting first, calling you just to hear your voice, making plans, and the next, it's like you're invisible. The energy changes. His messages slow down. He becomes distant, distracted, or worse, indifferent. It leaves you wondering, what did I do wrong? Here's the truth that nobody tells you. You probably didn't do anything wrong. In fact, most women lose a man's interest not because of what they did, but because of how available they became. And that's exactly where the Mirage technique comes in. Right now, you might be in a space where you feel like you're always the one initiating. You're overthinking every message, replaying your last conversation, trying to figure out how to get back to the connection you once had. But what if the problem isn't effort, it's energy? This video is going to flip the script. I'm going to show you how desire actually works, not in fairy tales, but in the male brain, and how a single mindset shift can completely change the way he sees you. Because attraction doesn't fade by accident. It fades when the emotional chase disappears. And when you learn how to reintroduce mystery, emotional contrast, and subtle detachment, not through games, but through self-mastery, he'll start to feel that magnetic pull back to you. So if you're tired of being too available, too predictable, or too easy to read, keep watching. By the end of this video, you'll have the tools to become the kind of woman a man doesn't just want, but can't stop thinking about. Let's dive in. The Mirage technique is a powerful psychological approach to attraction. But it's not about pretending, manipulating, or playing hard to get. It's about creating emotional contrast and perceived scarcity in a way that activates desire in a man's subconscious. Think about how a mirage works. It appears just within reach, but never quite in your grasp. That illusion is what keeps you chasing it, not out of frustration, but fascination. The same dynamic can be created in human relationships. When a woman becomes too emotionally available too quickly, constantly texting, initiating, giving without space, she unknowingly removes the element of mystery. There's no more tension, no anticipation, no curiosity. The masculine energy, which thrives on pursuit and purpose, begins to feel dull and disengaged. The Mirage technique interrupts this by making you emotionally present but not emotionally possessible. You're not ghosting. You're not cold. You're warm, responsive, engaging, but with boundaries. You don't rush replies. You don't overshare, and you don't seek validation. You become unpredictable in a feminine way, meaning your energy fluctuates in rhythm with your self-worth, not his attention. This keeps him emotionally alert and energetically invested, because now he's not sure if he fully has you, and that uncertainty is what reactivates pursuit. It's also deeply rooted in behavioral psychology. People value what they work for. If you're always emotionally accessible, there's no internal cost, no investment. But when a man feels like he's earning your energy, your attention, your affection, it triggers emotional bonding at a much deeper level. He doesn't just like you, he feels attached to the experience of you. The Mirage technique isn't about withdrawal, it's about strategic emotional depth. You show just enough of your authentic self to spark connection, but you leave enough unsaid, unshared, or unclaimed that he's left wanting more. This creates a loop of desire, where every interaction feels like a glimpse, never the full picture. And it's that sensation, the sense that there's more to you than he's seen, that drives his fascination and makes you unforgettable. Once you learn how to do this with intention, without pretending to be someone you're not, you'll become the woman who lingers in his mind long after the conversation ends. Desire isn't random. It doesn't just happen because someone is attractive, available, or even a perfect match. In fact, many people lose interest because someone is too available, too predictable, or too easy to understand. At the core, desire is driven by a cocktail of uncertainty, anticipation, emotional stimulation, and psychological tension. And when those elements disappear, so does attraction. From a psychological perspective, desire is closely linked to dopamine, the neurotransmitter responsible for pleasure, reward, and motivation. Here's where it gets interesting. Dopamine spikes not when we receive something, but when we anticipate it. It's the build-up, the not knowing, the suspense. Will she call me back? What is she thinking? Is she really into me or not? That actually creates obsession. When you remove the element of uncertainty, you kill the chemical response that fuels attraction. This is why the Mirage technique works so well. It feeds the brain's craving for stimulation and reward without giving too much too soon. You become a source of emotional highs, not by being dramatic or manipulative, but by maintaining just enough distance to keep the tension alive. You respond with warmth, but not predictability. You show interest, but not availability on demand. That keeps his brain locked into a cycle of emotional investment. Another key psychological principle is the scarcity effect. The more rare something appears, the more valuable it becomes. If your time, energy, and attention are always available, he may like you, but he won't value the experience of earning you. But if you position yourself as someone with boundaries, standards, and a full life, someone who chooses him, but doesn't need him, he subconsciously perceives you as a higher value target. The male brain is biologically wired to pursue, to chase challenge, not comfort. And while emotional safety is critical in long-term relationships, attraction thrives in contrast. When there's space, when there's polarity, when there's something he can't fully grasp, that's when desire flourishes. So if you've ever wondered why men lose interest once they have you, it's not personal, it's psychological. And once you understand this dynamic, you can stop trying to keep his attention and start commanding it. Mystery and emotional distance aren't about being cold or aloof. They're about being unavailable in the right way. They create a space where curiosity thrives, and where the other person is left with questions instead of answers. That space is what allows desire to grow. Attraction begins to fade when everything about you becomes known, predictable, or overly accessible. Think about the most addictive movies, books, or people you've ever encountered. They left you wanting more. They didn't give everything away in the first scene. That's exactly how powerful mystery works in relationships. It sparks imagination. And when someone's imagination is engaged, they create emotional investment, even if they don't realize it. In dating and relationships, we often feel this pressure to connect deeply by oversharing, to be open books right away, constantly available, constantly texting, always responding fast, always explaining ourselves. But this full exposure kills tension. It removes the unknown. And without the unknown, there's no room for fantasy. No chase, no emotional intrigue. Emotional distance doesn't mean shutting down or being disinterested. It means strategically pulling back to allow the other person to reach toward you. When you're constantly leaning in, emotionally or physically, it removes the polarity that desire needs to survive. Desire is magnetic. It requires push and pull, stillness and movement. When you lean back just enough, you create a vacuum that invites the other person to lean in. This is why emotionally intelligent detachment is so powerful. When you can stay centered in your own life, not reacting every time he pulls away, not rushing to fix every silence, not explaining every emotion, you project calm confidence. He doesn't fully know where he stands with you. And that uncertainty, that's where attraction lives. Men fall in love when they're unsure, when they have to wonder if they've won you over, when they question if they're doing enough to earn your space, when they realize they can't quite figure you out, but they want to. You don't create mystery by being fake. You create it by being grounded in your self-worth. You say less. You reveal yourself slowly. You let silence work in your favor. You allow emotional distance to make your presence feel more valuable. When you learn to wield mystery like this, paired with emotional warmth when it matters, you become unforgettable, not because you played hard to get, but because you made him work to understand you. And that's the difference between being desired for a moment and being desired over time. Mystery and distance don't push him away. They give him a reason to keep coming back, because he's not chasing you out of ego. He's chasing you out of fascination. One of the biggest myths in dating is that men lose interest suddenly without warning. The truth is, attraction rarely vanishes overnight. It erodes slowly through small but consistent behaviors that most women aren't even aware they're doing. And these behaviors, when left unchecked, can shift the dynamic from magnetic to mundane in a matter of weeks. One of the most common mistakes is over-validation, complimenting him too often, overreacting to every text, always being enthusiastic just to keep his interest. These seem like kind, supportive behaviors, but in reality they can come across as neediness. When a man senses that your emotional state depends on his attention, it creates pressure, and pressure kills the natural flow of attraction. Another silent attraction killer is emotional overexposure too early. This looks like revealing your entire history, your fears, your family traumas, your expectations, all within the first few conversations. While vulnerability is essential for long-term connection, oversharing prematurely can overwhelm a man and take the mystery out of getting to know you. You want to unfold, not unload. Then there's the mistake of making yourself too available, dropping everything to spend time with him, replying immediately to every message, clearing your schedule for every invitation. All of these signal that you're waiting on his lead instead of living on your terms. Attraction grows when he sees you have a full, meaningful life with or without him. If he starts to feel like he's your only source of joy, he'll instinctively pull away. Seeking constant reassurance is another subtle but powerful way attraction fades. If you're always asking where you stand, if he likes you, if he's serious, it sends the message that you don't trust the connection. And when you don't trust it, neither will he. Men are drawn to women who are secure in their presence, not those who need constant proof of their place. Lastly, over-initiating, always calling first, texting first, planning dates, checking in, might feel proactive, but it robs him of the opportunity to pursue. Masculine energy thrives in the act of doing, initiating, moving toward a goal. When that's taken from him, he doesn't feel needed, he feels displaced. And attraction begins to die not from lack of affection, but from a lack of emotional polarity. These mistakes aren't about being too much, they're about giving too soon, too fast, without enough space for tension to build. When everything is handed over at once, attention, energy, time, access, there's nothing left to earn. Attraction is not sustained by giving more. It's sustained by knowing your value and letting him experience the privilege of discovering it, slowly, intentionally, and with balance. If you've made any of these mistakes, don't panic. Awareness is power, and from here forward, you can start showing up in a way that protects your energy and reignites the dynamic. Applying the Mirage technique isn't about pretending to be someone you're not. It's about shifting the way you show up emotionally, mentally, and energetically in your connection with a man. It's about becoming the woman he sees as captivating, rare, and slightly out of reach. Not because you're playing games, but because you know your value and you don't hand it over too quickly. Step 1 is control your emotional urgency. That means resisting the impulse to respond instantly to texts, to always be the one checking in, or to constantly wonder where you stand. When a man senses that your emotions swing based on his attention, he begins to lose that core respect that fuels attraction. Instead, practice emotional stillness. Take your time, respond thoughtfully, not reactively. He'll notice the shift and feel it. Step 2 is limit access to your world without explanation. You don't have to justify your schedule, your availability, or why you're taking time for yourself. Stop volunteering too much information. If he asks how your day was, share a highlight, not your entire calendar. The Mirage technique is rooted in selective openness. Give him something real, but never give him everything. Step 3 is be emotionally present, but unpredictable. This doesn't mean playing hot and cold. It means not making your moods revolve around him. Some days you're warm and engaged. Other days you're focused and unavailable. He should feel you when you're with him, but also notice your absence when you're not. This creates emotional contrast, which is exactly what his brain craves to stay engaged. Step 4 is let him come to you more often. If you're used to initiating conversations or dates, start pulling back. Give him the space to move toward you. If he doesn't, that tells you something. When you constantly lead the dynamic, he slips into passive mode. When you create space, you force a choice. Either he rises to meet your energy or he fades. Either way, you gain clarity. Step 5 is stay grounded in your life outside of him. Keep your plans. Prioritize your passions. Stay connected to your friends, your goals, your identity. When a man sees that you're living fully, not just waiting, he's drawn to you instinctively. He starts to question what's happening in your world because you're not giving him full access to it. That mystery builds emotional value. Finally, end conversations first from time to time. Don't drag out texts or phone calls just to stay connected. Leave interactions on a high note. Let him feel like the moment ended a little too soon. That's how you become the woman he wants to return to, because the experience of you lingers even after you've left. The Mirage technique isn't cold, and it's not manipulative. It's strategic softness. It's knowing that your presence has power, and learning how to reveal it in doses, not all at once. Knowing how to apply the Mirage technique in theory is one thing, but seeing it in action is what brings it to life. This approach isn't about manipulation. It's about creating space and emotional depth in how you communicate, especially during key moments when most people give away too much too soon. Let's start with texting. Instead of replying immediately or over-explaining, try a response like, "Hey, just saw this, was in the middle of something, how's your day going?" This keeps you responsive, not reactive. It subtly signals that your time is full, your energy is balanced, and your attention is not on standby. He knows you're there, but not waiting. Now, let's say he asks to see you last minute. Rather than jumping at the opportunity, try "Tonight's tight, but maybe later this week. Let me check my schedule." You're not saying no, you're showing that your time is valuable, and you don't drop everything for someone who didn't plan ahead. This creates both emotional and logistical distance, which builds anticipation. When he asks, "What are you looking for?" a typical answer might overshare or chase validation. Instead, say, "I'm not rushing anything. I value connection, but I also value peace. So I move slow and see what feels aligned." This kind of response is powerful. You're not putting pressure on him, and you're not putting yourself in a position of need. You're centered, intentional, and slightly mysterious. It invites him to lean in without giving him the whole story. Here's another scenario. You've had a great date, and he sends a follow-up text the next morning. Most people might gush or overly affirm, but using the Mirage technique, try something like, "Last night was fun. You've got a good energy. I'm still smiling." It's light, confident, and just flirty enough. You're giving him a hint of positive feedback, but you're not fawning over him. You're letting him wonder where you stand. Now let's talk about emotional conversations. If he starts pulling away or seems distant, resist the urge to confront it directly or ask what's wrong. Instead, create space by saying, "I've felt a shift in the vibe. I'm giving it space," instead of assuming anything. You've got your world, and I've got mine. This is calm, mature, and non-accusatory. It reasserts your value while inviting him to re-engage, if he chooses to. Lastly, if he says something emotionally charged like, "I've never met someone like you," don't rush to return the sentiment. Try, "That's sweet of you to say. I like what we're building, but I'm not in a hurry to define it." This response keeps emotional tension alive. You're appreciating the moment without locking it down. You remain the Mirage, visible, present, desirable, but not fully captured. These micro moments are where the Mirage technique lives. It's not about controlling the other person. It's about controlling your presence, your energy, and how much of yourself you choose to reveal. Becoming his obsession doesn't mean losing yourself in the process. It's not about becoming someone you're not, or crafting a perfect image to hold his attention. It's about embodying a version of yourself that's so rooted in confidence, emotional depth, and energetic balance that he feels drawn to you. Not because you chase him, but because you've mastered the art of letting him chase you. When you use the Mirage technique with intention, you step into a rare category of women. Not rare because you're trying to be difficult or aloof, but rare because you understand the psychology of attraction, and you don't waste energy proving your worth. Instead, you allow your presence to speak for itself. You create space. You invite curiosity. You allow tension to build naturally. Men don't become obsessed with women who are always available, always agreeable, or always emotionally exposed. They become obsessed with women who make them feel something, a spark, a question, a sense of pursuit. That emotional fluctuation, the high of connection, and the slight uncertainty that comes from not fully knowing what's next, that's what locks them in. Not manipulation, not need, just natural magnetism created through emotional awareness and intentional detachment. You don't have to convince a man to want you when you believe you're a prize. That belief shows up in how you text, how you move, how you respond, and how you pause. That pause, the emotional distance, the moment of silence, the decision to not rush a reply or overshare your feelings, that's where he starts wondering what's going on in your head. That's where the obsession begins. The Mirage technique teaches you how to slow down the pace of connection, not to sabotage it, but to savor it. To let him discover you in layers. To make him feel like every time he gets closer, there's more to uncover. That's the kind of energy that doesn't just attract a man, it haunts him in the best way. You're not just another woman who showed interest. You're the one who left an impression. The one who didn't give everything away. The one who seemed just out of reach, even when you were close. So if you're tired of giving too much and getting too little, if you've ever walked away from a situation feeling like you lost yourself just to be liked, this is your invitation to shift. To become the woman who doesn't need to demand anything, because her silence, her presence, and her confidence do all the work for her. Become the Mirage. Be warm, but not constant. Present, but not predictable. Desirable, but never easily claimed. And watch what happens when you stop chasing and start attracting. Before we wrap up, here's one last secret that most people never talk about, but it's the game changer when it comes to making a man not just like you, but obsess over you. It's not about the words you say, the texts you send, or even how mysterious you are. It's something far more subtle, yet incredibly magnetic. The energy you carry when you're not trying to be desired. Think about the times you've been around someone who's effortlessly captivating. Not because they're trying to impress or seeking validation, but simply because they own their space and their worth without apology. That energy is irresistible. It's a frequency that pulls people in because it signals confidence, independence, and self-love. The kind of energy that makes him want to be part of your world. Not because he has to, but because he wants to. This secret is the foundation beneath everything we've talked about. The Mirage technique, emotional distance, mystery, and attraction psychology. None of those tactics work if you don't genuinely cultivate this energy from within. It's not a trick or a strategy. It's a way of living. When you embody it, desire follows naturally. How do you cultivate this energy? Start by investing in yourself. Pursue your passions, set boundaries that honor your time and feelings, and surround yourself with people who uplift and respect you. Practice gratitude for who you are and what you bring to the table. The more you fill your own cup, the less you seek from others, and that's when your magnetic power skyrockets. Remember, desire isn't just about chemistry. It's about emotional resonance. It's about being so aligned with your own life and values that you create an energetic pull that's impossible to resist. When you stop trying to control how he feels and start focusing on how you feel, you shift the entire dynamic. So here's the challenge as you step away from this video. Ask yourself, how can you deepen your relationship with yourself? How can you embody that calm, confident energy that makes you unforgettable? Because once you master that, the chase isn't about winning someone over. It's about showing up fully and letting the right person be naturally drawn to the incredible woman you already are.